The first project I want to do in here is something that I've been seeing a lot in a lot of new builds. And it's something that I've wanted to try for a while.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing a moss wall. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a project, and there have been a couple reasons for that. Mainly, I've just been going non-stop for the better part of a year now, and I just needed a second to calm myself and really give me a chance to get those creative juices flowing again. And another big thing was that project after project after project, everything starts to pile up, and this apartment desperately needed to get like deep cleaned. So I had wood and tools everywhere. I feel so good now that I've spent the time just really cleaning everything, every room, just making this place spotless again. And now that it is, we can start back into projects and make it messy again. We're gonna step away from the bedroom for a little bit. As creative people know, sometimes you just need to step away so you can get your creative juices flowing again in a space. We have plenty of projects to work on in this apartment, but the space I wanna move to this week is a space that I have not touched at all since I've lived in this place. It's not technically a room, it is this entryway here. I would say it's more of like a nook. It's not really a room. It has a drop down in the ceiling, so it does feel like its own space, but I haven't done anything. As you can see, there's paint that's peeling off. All of the furniture is kind of a mishmash, and the art is like a mishmash of stuff that I've had for years from different places. So it's not really been like a cohesive space, which is kind of unfortunate because it is the first thing that you see when you walk into the apartment, so it is the first impression, and I spend so much time on the rest of the apartment, and the first impression still looks like this. So we need to get to work on it. And the first project I want to do in here is something that I've been seeing a lot in a lot of new builds, specifically in Southern California, but everywhere really. I'm thinking of doing a moss wall. Now, I'd be using a preserved moss because obviously a living moss, this is a dark area and there's not a lot of natural light there. So obviously I can't do a living plant there. It's just gonna die really quickly. A preserved moss wall, you don't have to worry about water. You don't have to worry about sunlight as much. You can have it in a dark space. And as you know, throughout the rest of my apartment, I love plants. I love greenery. I love the feel of nature and natural elements throughout my apartment. So I think walking into an entire green wall as one of the first things you see here is gonna be so, not just a wow factor, but it's gonna be so calming and welcoming. This wall is about 4 feet by 8 feet, but I also wanna make it as a piece of artwork. So if I move, or whenever I move eventually, it's something that I can take to the next place, and it could go anywhere. It doesn't have to be specifically on a 4x8 wall. It could just be a piece of art that is 4x8. We're gonna incorporate a mirror and some light behind it because this is a dark alcove. I do wanna incorporate a little bit more light. I have a general idea of how I'm going to do it, but you don't really know until the moment gets here how it's gonna turn out or if the thing in your mind is going to work. So we're gonna start with going to our favorite place, Home Depot, and picking up the pieces that I need to create this art piece. Gonna be honest, I thought I had more clearance, but
It's in, and we're gonna make it work.
All right, so we got all of the materials for the frame yesterday, and everything for the frame cost probably about 35 bucks. This is not an expensive build, even though this is a pretty big piece of art that we're going to be doing here. Obviously, the moss is going to be the expensive thing, but the frame itself, completely affordable. We got a couple panels of this really thin installation foam. I got the half-inch one, and that's going to be inside the frame. Basically, we're going to build it up in different layers to give the moss different definition and different levels. And I got this 4x8 piece of hardboard. It's 1/8 of an inch thick. I could have gone with a plywood that was a little bit sturdier, because obviously this. But I was more concerned about weight than I was about sturdiness, because it's going to be screwed straight into the wall. So it really just needs to hang there. It's not going to be flying around or anything like that. But I didn't want to put a lot of weight on the wall. So this, pretty light. I mean, it's going to be the heaviest part of the build still, but pretty light. So what we're going to do is I have to cut this down because this is 4x8. This wall is actually 4x8, which would be perfect, except that I'm going to do another build that I need about 1.5 inches for on this edge here. So I need to cut off about 1.5 inches off of the edge here just to narrow it down a little bit. So we're gonna wood glue the edge and we're gonna tape it in place because I don't have a lot of clamps to hold it. Then we're gonna flip it over, brad nail it in place, and we're gonna do that with each individual piece of this so it doesn't go anywhere. So let's get some wood glue on this and then we'll flip it over. So sometimes you have to adapt and think quickly. I had glue drying, although wood glue doesn't dry that quickly. But my nail gun was shooting straight through this thin hardboard and going straight into the other wood and was not attaching no matter how soft I put the settings on the nail gun. So I ended up using this craft stapler that I've had for a long time, and it ended up working perfectly. It is holding this so well to the board because this hardboard is actually pretty soft. It's going straight through this and attaching to the wood really easily and nicely. So we're gonna use that with the wood glue all the way around, and we're gonna get this done real fast. All right, we have let this thing dry overnight and it is sturdy. I'm really happy with the way this actually turned out. We're gonna go ahead and stain this frame so that we can start on the interior and the actual moss of it. And now, most of the projects I've done on the channel so far in the bedroom have been a darker wood stain because I was going for something a little bit moodier. But for the entryway, I want something a little bit lighter, a little bit more peaceful, calming when you walk in, hence the moss wall. So we're just going to use a natural wood stain real quick. Good morning, guys. It is Flower Market Day. If you're in the LA area and you've never been to the Los Angeles Flower Market, the Flower District, highly recommend. It's a really large, cool place. They have a ton of different plants, flowers and stuff. I used to go a lot when I threw my big Oscar parties because you could get a lot of flowers for a lot cheaper. I don't know if they're gonna have the preserved moss per se. I obviously what they have in stock changes repeatedly, and I was looking online and I couldn't tell exactly. I assume they will because I know a lot of florists use it as like filler. So either way, it's a really cool place to visit. So we're gonna have a fun little trip. Alright, so I cut a couple random pieces of wood here, and basically what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to place them behind where I have the mirror here, because when I hang the mirror, I want it to pop out about the same depth as the frame here, because we're going to backlight it. You know me, I love a good LED strip, so we're going to backlight it. I don't need it to pop out too far, and these blocks will just give it a little something to rest on when we hang it. And before we start adding the moss, I'm gonna do a dry fit and mark exactly where I need the wall anchors to go to hang this piece. Just using a really small wall anchor. So, we have the technical portion of this build done, and now we get to start on just the creative stuff, the stuff that I've wanted to get to. So let me show you the types of moss that I got here. There's various different types of moss, not to mention all the different colors that can be dyed and stuff like that. The main one that I'm going to be using to cover the most area, because it was the most economical, like per square foot, is called a sheet moss, and it's in more of a, I mean, like it sounds, sheet kind of status. There are various different like widths and lengths and stuff like that, but it covers more square footage. And I got this grass color. Another type of moss is reindeer moss. And now this is a little bit pricier per square foot, but it has a lot more color and it has a lot more different like texture that you can get out of. So I bought less of this because I figured I'd use it as an accent since it's a little bit pricier. I got one that was like a chartreusey type color, and I thought that would really, make accents like pop and stuff on it. So I got that one, and this is the darker one. So I have those three colors of the sheet moss and the reindeer moss, and then I bought one that I didn't find down at the flower market, but I saw online a lot that I really like the texture of. It's called a pillow moss, and I got this one off of Amazon. It's a lot more expensive, so I only got a couple, and I'm only going to use it in strategic areas because it is pricier. But so I only have the one box of the pillow moss. It has 3 layers of it, but as you can see, like its name, it is pillowier. It is thicker, and when clumped together, it really adds like a really cool texture to the moss wall. So I can break that up into like clumps and use that sporadically. But this is the fun part. I get to just be creative now. So I finished the first swipe of the full moss wall, and I went a little bit scarce, a little bit thin, because I wanted to make sure, obviously, that I had enough of the moss to cover everything. And I have so much moss left over. I mean, like, this is just the one reindeer moss. Look, I still have like a full box. It doesn't even look like I touched this thing. So I don't really know what they're talking about. I was online on their site and I was going by the estimates that they use, and they're like, one box will equal about 2 square feet. And I'm like, well, I have 4 by 8, that's 32 square feet. So I was like, I'm gonna need so much moss. And I was fully prepared to tell you this project was going to be super expensive. Don't buy as much moss as I bought. I have so much left over. But that's okay, we're gonna go over it again. I went scarce because I didn't know how much I was gonna need, so I can go back over it now and fill in holes and patch some spots that look a little bit rougher and try to make this look really natural and organic. So we're gonna go back over the whole thing now with not all, but with whatever moss we need. And for some finishing touches, I'm just adding a few faux succulents that I found on Amazon. And with that, this moss wall is complete.